Welcome and good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Ashwin Mehta. I'm St. George's University School of Medicine, class of 2005, and it is an honor to be here with you this evening and be your master of ceremonies for this white coat ceremony. I would first like to recognize the presence of U.S. Charge d'Affaires, Mr. Louis Krishuk. The Honorable Minister Tong Deng, Minister of Health for South Sudan's Northern Bahr el Ghazal State. Chancellor Dr. Charles R. Modica. Provost Dr. Alan Pensick. Vice Provost for International Program Development, Dr. Callum McPherson. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Cheryl Cox McPherson for her kind invitation to be here with you this evening. Vice Provost, Institutional Advancement, Dr. Dennis Paul. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Kiran Healy. Our Dean of Students, Dr. Vishnu Rao. And I'm going to go off script for a moment and talk a little bit about Dr. Rao as our Dean of Students. He has recently incorporated a very healthy, very positive health behavior into his daily routine, which is a morning walk. And I had the pleasure of joining him on his morning walk yesterday. And so that is something that you all have to look forward to. And the other thing that I'd like to impress upon you is the importance of maintaining your own personal health. Take care of yourselves as you embark on this long journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. So diet, exercise, good sleep, and mindfulness, very, very important. I'd also like to welcome our Dean of the School of Veterinary Medicine, Dr. Timothy Ogilvie. Faculty, staff, specially invited guests, parents, students, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Ashwin Mehta. As I mentioned, I'm St. George's University class of 2005. And presently, I'm on faculty at the University of Miami as an assistant professor. I'm also the medical director of integrative medicine at the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, which is our cancer center at the University of Miami. And I'd like to share with you a few steps along my journey, how I ended up from graduating here, St. George's University, class of 2005, School of Medicine, and ended up as the medical director of integrative medicine at the University of Miami, which is, incidentally, a school I was waitlisted at when I flew down here to begin classes. So. Well, once I arrived, I loved it so much I never went back. So when I graduated from St. George's, before I graduated from St. George's, I took part in Dr. Jackie Stanley's Complementary and Alternative Medicine program, which is a selective that she offers, just to increase my toolkit, because I felt that it was important to offer my patients something more than medicine, surgery, or more lab tests, which are also extremely important and you will learn all about. But in order to expand my toolkit, I took this course, this selective. I took a few different selectives at St. George's, and from her selective, I was inspired to then seek additional training in integrative medicine upon my graduation. I graduated from St. George's and I received my residency training at the University of Florida in internal medicine, after which I did 1 year of a sleep fellowship program at the University of Miami, was absorbed into their faculty ranks in 2009, and then did 2 years of intensive training in integrative medicine, and since became the medical director for integrative medicine at the University of Miami. And it is my dream job. And I'm here to share with you that this journey that you're about to embark on today, that you have already embarked on, can lead you to your dream job. And that's what I wish for all of you. There's a slide that I share with every single one of my medical students, residents, fellows, every trainee who I have the opportunity to teach. I share with them a slide, which actually has 4 circles on this slide. One circle is what you're good at. What is your skill set? The next circle is what the world will pay you to do. The next circle is what you really love doing. And the final circle is what the world needs. And the space, that area, which is the shared area in each of those circles, is bliss. And so that's what I'd like to impress upon you to contemplate over the next several months and years. What is your individual bliss? What is that aspect of your career that is something the world needs, something the world will pay you to do, that is commensurate with your skill set that you will develop here during the course of your medical training, and something that you really enjoy doing. So that's what I really hope that all of you find your bliss in terms of your professional careers. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Charles R. Modica, Chancellor and Chairman of the Board of Trustees of St. George's University.
It's almost like we did this before. Actually, we did about 2 hours ago. Welcome to St. George's University and the Spice Island of Grenada. For all of our incoming students here, you're set 2, L to Z, unless you cheated on the alphabet to be here on the later ceremony. And I'm proud to tell you that one of the reasons we had 2 sections for this white coat, it's the first time we ever needed 2 sections actually, was because so many parents and friends wanted to be here with you. And we were faced with about 120, or I don't know what the number was, but it was at least 3 digits, which is enough of a lot of complaints to me. So I thought we'll split the ceremony, we'll make our speeches twice, and you will still have the glory of passing on the stage here to receive your white coat. So I think it'll all work out pretty well, and there's been plenty of, it's nice to see empty seats in the room instead of people that can't get into the doors. So I thank you for your understanding. And as new students to St. George's University, you'll soon learn that you need to be resourceful. You need to recognize that we don't get everything right. If we get some things right, we feel pretty good that day, frankly. And you've got to do the rest. And we have early graduates here tonight with us. I recognize 2 just on my way out between sessions who have a son or a daughter going through the white coat with you. And they're not the first. We're probably into 100 or more of those people, alums that have had children go through the school. It makes me proud. It makes me feel a little older. But that's okay, you know, I'm getting used to it now. And you can't fight it that long. And it makes me recognize the significance we've had in their lives. In their lives and now their children's lives. And the significance Grenada has had in their lives. And that's very important. When those earlier students were here, you might say, well, I wonder which buildings were here when they were here. None, 0, zippo. Trust me, we had open-air lecture halls, and we would have to bring down the shades to show slides, and of course it got very hot. So the professors tried to use as few slides as possible to make their point, which I guess made the lectures a little shorter, by the way. It might be a good thing. And it was a whole different thing here. What they did have that you have is motivation. And you can knock them dead with the motivation you have. The past 2 years on part 1 of the national boards, we've excelled and we outpaced the U.S. average rate. And that's because people like you in classes before you, immediately before you in fact, have studied hard, worked hard, and wanted it bad. And they did too. The early graduates did too. They just didn't have the luxuries of air conditioning and lots of lights and lots of buildings and lots of everything. And I didn't have an electric bill of we're told now it's about $34,000 US, by the way, per day. Yeah, day. Yeah, keep those thermostats a little higher, guys. Come on now. I don't get many occasions to address you, and half of you at a time, so I get to do it twice. I'm really excited about that. And it's because the university runs with deans and faculty members and all sorts of people that know how to do what they do. In the old days, I kind of did a lot of those different tasks, not so well. That's why they were so good to have persevered, by the way, and get out of here. And so this will probably the only be the only time I formally see you until graduation, unless some crazy political thing happens or some kind of nutty thing that you don't wish to see me in between, in other words. That will be a good thing. You might see me going by my great little Mini Moke. It's that little blue car that everyone thinks is really cool, and I do too. And other than that, I probably won't see you as a group again until graduation, and that's okay. So it moves me, it means a lot to me to be here to welcome you here. I'm the founding father, and I look at, of the university. And I'll share a little story because we have one less speaker now, so I get to have 3 more minutes of time. See, I'm kind of ad-libbing now. But it's a meaningful date is coming up that you should be aware of. And that date is February 7th. That is Grenada Independence Day, as you may already know. It's coming up not too far from now. And on that day, 40 years ago, Grenada was granted its independence. And the more meaningful day to me, frankly, is I believe, although I can't get the copy of the paper, but we're trying, it's either February 9th or maybe the 10th, about 2 or 3 days later. And that was my Back to the Future moment. You know that great movie, Back to the Future? My kids used to love it. I thought it was a great movie, but it's that one point in time where if that 1 second change occurred, everything kind of disappears. We would all be out of here right now, by the way. And I'll tell you what happened. I went to medical school. I dropped out after 1 year. I decided to go to law school, as required by my Italian-born mother, who said, if you're not going to be a doctor, you at least can be a lawyer. So I said, okay, I'll make that deal. That's true. I'm not kidding. And in law school, you have to be very young and very crazy to found a university. But trust me, you really do. I say that with great humility, but also with great truth. And at the time, I thought it was genius, by the way. But looking back at it as an adult, as much of an adult as I can be, my wife says I try hard, but not always. It was a crazy idea. I was in law school, and I said, why are Americans going abroad to study medicine? And why are hospitals being staffed with people from countries all over the world, some of their best physicians from India, Philippines, Pakistan, everywhere? They're great physicians, but we were draining them from their countries. They were trained there. They came to the States, did residencies, and stayed. They made the medical care in the United States better, clearly. They were the best of the graduates internationally. And in fact, today in the United States, about 24%, I think it is, of all physicians that are licensed are graduates of foreign schools. And that was the case 30 or 40 years ago. So as a law student, I wrote a book on how to get into foreign medical schools. It's a long, big story. We won't go through that part of it, because I only got the extra 2 minutes here now. And I decided that, the book's doing well. I had a great car. I had a Corvette in law school. I paid for it myself. And the guys here can understand what that means. And life was good. I wrote this book, selling it, and making people happy and getting into foreign schools. And then one day I said, every time I would try to do a seminar at a college, somebody would raise their hand and say, what about English speaking? I said, well, you're going to Europe, and let me check. It's the UK, and they don't have any seats, so no. And I decided to look we didn't have Google in those days. It's hard for you to believe that we actually survived to develop a human race that you could be part of without all these things, but we did somehow. And I went to the library. You see, that's where you would get an atlas of the world, and you'd turn the language of the country, you see, and I wrote down every country that had English as the language, and I invited them all on my letterhead from my publishing company for the book to participate in a feasibility study for a new international medical school. And you might say, well, my God, you must have had a lot of plans for the school. No, trust me, it was just a vision at that point, but it was a study, nevertheless. And I started writing to the countries all over the world. If it said English, you got a letter. I'm interested. And we got a few letters back and, wanted more information, which made me have to scratch my head and put my law school books down and think of more information to send to them. And it was going on for about 6 or 7 months. And it wasn't that active of a feasibility study, frankly. And in fact, instead of unfolding the letters I got back from whatever ministry it might be, whatever government, I'd fold them back into the envelope that came in because they fit neatly in a shoebox I had on the corner of my desk. But I never got out of that one shoebox. So the study, wasn't as big of a study as I thought when I started it. So you're saying, what the heck was Back to the Future about 10 minutes ago? This guy's going all over the place. Here's the Back to the Future moment. On about February 8th or 9th, when you're in class that day, 2 days after independence, you think about this. I didn't always read the newspaper in law school. I was busy studying. I was #1 in my freshman class. I loved law school, and my mother's suggestion, actually mandate, was a very good one. That night, I purchased the Wilmington Evening Journal, where I was going to law school, happened to turn to In the World Today column, which is always a few days old because things weren't instantaneous in those days, believe it or not. And I saw, because I needed an independent country, so the atlas was only independent countries. I saw the byline St. George's, Grenada, the tiny English-speaking nation of Grenada was granted independence from Great Britain. The new prime minister is blah, blah, blah. It was a 2-paragraph article. I happened to see that article. It scares the hell out of me to think that if I had not seen that paper, I'm serious. It's kind of scary. It's 40 years ago that's going to happen, that moment, And of course, my study, as I have admitted, wasn't going really great. The shoebox had a lot of room in it still. So I went all out. I said, Dawn, there's a new country. It's in the Caribbean. That would be a great place. I'm going to go all out and spend, at that time, I think it was about $10 or $11, which, that's $40 today or whatever. And I'm going to send them a congratulatory telegram instead of just a letter. I want to, get a little. And I remember the wording. It was essentially that the Foreign Medical School Information Center, which published my book, me, wishes to congratulate the government of Grenada and Sir Eric Matthew Gary on its recent independence from Great Britain. As a newly independent nation, you are eligible for inclusion in the ongoing feasibility study for a new international medical school. Yeah, I actually did this. This is true. Humble beginnings, huh? I asked them to respond within 30 days because, after all, it was an ongoing study, and I don't want to wait much longer. And about a week later, I came back from class. I saw a little yellow envelope. Again, something you wouldn't understand, but it's a Western Union telegram in those days, under my door, sticking out from my door. I opened that door knowing that had to be good news. Nobody sending a telegram with bad news in those days. And pulled it out, and Grenada wished to be included in the study. That was 1974. And in the month of February coming up, 40 years ago. It took 2.5 years to get a charter, to get everything set up. Then we had to do some real busy work, get a little bit of money to set up the school and make it happen. And then the classes started in January of '77. But that's my Back to the Future moment. That's a true story, and I don't know what would be here today if I hadn't read that column in that paper. So I got to share that story. The other group, A through L, did not get that story, by the way, because we had an extra minister speaking at the time. So with that, and to get on with the show and the event of great importance to all of you, I wanted to recognize some distinguished guests, because one of the things, that story and that Back to the Future moment that turned out to be good has brought to Grenada is an international medical school. Students from all over the world. That's what I'm most proud of. Yeah, I'm from the States, but our role has always been, and our goal has always been, to try to get 50% non-U.S. citizens in this school. It's great for Grenada, it's great for you academically, it's great for you culturally. You'll know a lot more about medicine if you can understand each other and love each other and respect each other and use your time here to get to know people from every culture and religion and belief and get along with them. So once in a while we're called in a kind of urgent moment many years ago with Sri Lanka when they had a civil war, and many students came here. I was called to the embassy in the United States of Sri Lanka, and the ambassador said, we need to take a bunch of medical students and find a home for them really quick. And the U.S. schools don't seem to be able to. He was asked to do that with U.S. schools, and they weren't able to, get something like that moving. I can usually do that in about a day or two, and that's on a bad day. So recently, as you know, the newest independent country in the world, by the way, now is South Sudan. They're about 2 years, I think, of independence. And in fact, if my study was still going on, they might have gotten that telegram. So I'm very proud to tell you that tonight we're recognizing students from South Sudan, where there is now a war going on, frankly, who are here to study medicine and to take back to their own country the power of healing, the power of love, but more importantly, as a spearhead for more students that may be able to study in our program here. It was so important to the government of that country, despite all of the trials and tribulations they're going through right now. The 3 representatives were flown here. They spent 40 hours getting here. They got here last night, just in time to miss dinner. Sorry. You were close, though. And I wanted to have them come up because we want to welcome them and the South Sudan students that are here. There's 13 in all. That they're in the pre-med part of the program, but still they're kind of coming into the school the same time you are. And I wanted to acknowledge them, recognize them, let you get to see them. And it's one of those dramatic moments that a chancellor gets to have once in a while. Something good we're doing in the world. Something good you're doing in the world. So I would like Minister Tong, Minister of Health, and the... And the students, come up now, yep. Come up. Bring them up now. And then you'll make a few remarks again, yeah? Come right down this way. Come all the way down. Minister Tong, it's a great honor and a pleasure to be here again with you. It seems like we only did this a couple of hours ago, but we're getting better at it as we go along, I think. So. Minister Tong wanted to just make a few statements to you, and these are our students from South Sudan, literally off planes themselves in the past 2 weeks. They're working hard, they hit the ground running, and my wife bought 24 pairs of pants for them. Some of them are being worn tonight, I think, and a bunch of football shoes. And she said they want football shoes, but they don't play football in Grenada. I said, I think that might be soccer. And that was soccer. We learned a lot ourselves here. Minister Tong, please.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. On behalf of the people of South Sudan, I'm honored to be with you here tonight. And it is a great pleasure for myself, the Ministry of Health, and the people of Southern Sudan to have an honor to have a student here in St. George University. It is something that is very, very important that we really like to recognize. In fact, the transition that we witnessed told a lot. The three of us and my other colleagues, how the university is because people all over the world. Because the people that we saw here, they were able from all over the continents that are there. So, and I want to thank you so much and the leadership of St. George University for doing this great job. You are saving lives of people. Not just people, it is including ourselves. Dr. Mark Persson has a hospital that he established in Lepeding during the war in South Sudan. And that hospital, I myself happened to be a patient in that hospital when I got a car accident in 1997. So you can see already a great thing that you are doing, saving lives of people, giving education to these young people. In fact, these people that you are training here are not going only to go back to their countries, but others will end up in other countries, including South Sudan. I don't mean that only the student from South Sudan, but the student from other countries can come also and work in Southern Sudan, because we have people already there from other countries, and we still welcome people from other countries to work in Southern Sudan to address the health issues. We actually, one of the countries really very much behind in terms of health services delivery. If you look at our health indicators, you read our health development plan, you will really feel so bad. If you go to our Ministry of Health website and get the health development plan, you will find that one doctor, like Dr. Mayen, is dealing with 100,000 people. That is the number of doctors we have per the population that we have in South Sudan. So this is a real need, and I want to thank St. George for accepting the student to come here for the first time. This is the first time that we have our student here. This is the first time for the government of South Sudan to visit Grenada. It is a great thing that we need to strengthen the relationship between the people of South Sudan and the people of Grenada and the people of the United States, because this one did not just happen from nowhere. It was an American organization that was working in Southern Sudan that helped us to facilitate the whole of this. And you can see Alan there is like she's pretending to be very simple, but she's the one making all these things. She has really been working there. And I used to tell people, in Southern Sudan, if you can see the commitment, somebody like Helen have and Mark Person, when they go to Wanjok where they have a clinic, they sleep in the tent. Yeah, in the tent. And I tell the people that look at these people, the way they are committed. If you see their houses in New York, you cannot believe that they can sleep here in a place like here. But because of the commitment, they come here to see that they save the life of the people. And in fact, what you have done today contribute a lot to the life of people in South Sudan and all over the world, because now that we will have these people, the mortality rate that is happening in Southern Sudan will drastically reduce. It's actually one of the countries that we still have a high mortality rate, where we have the women and children dying at birth. And this is something like myself. I'm not a doctor, but as long as I work in the Ministry of Health, I will want to see into it that the health services improve. I may not be able to do it all, but I will do my best while I'm there to see that life has changed. And this is the beginning. The life of these young people will change, the life of their families will change, and the life of people that they are going to treat will change. So I don't want to take a longer time here, but I would like to say that we are actually open to St. George University, and we will look forward for a future relation. We are not going to stop from here. We have representatives from our government who are here. Dr. Mayen is from the University of Juba, so it's actually an opportunity for him to see St. George, what is happening here, because he knows St. George. Dr. Muywir is our advisor in the ministry that advises the whole ministry of what needs to be done. And one of the most interesting things, one of the most interesting things that I just want to share with you tonight, when we put the call for application out for this student, there was one of our medical students in Australia who knows St. George. People at home did not know what St. George was. So when we put this call for application out on the internet, he called me and he said, "Is this St. George in Caribbean?" I said, "Yes." He said, "How did you guys get it?" I applied for it here in Australia, and I was not able to make it. But now, I can see that you guys are putting this advertisement out on the tree, because for us, when you write the notice, you stick it on the tree so that everybody read it there. Yeah. So he said now, even it is put in the tree in the village, and while I'm in Australia here, I'm struggling to get to St. George. So this is where even myself get to know that how important this university is, because I'm not a health professional, but I was getting that very encouraging comment from a health person. So it was too encouraging. So I just want to say on behalf of my colleague and the behalf of the student and the people of Southern Sudan, I want to thank you very much and have a very, very good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. And how about a great big hand for the South Sudan classmates right there? How about that? Good work. Thank you. Well, thank you for your indulgence, but I'm sure you can see the importance of the role that we're beginning to play more and more in this world. And God bless you all. You study hard, you get to know each other, you get to love each other, and do well in medical school. God bless.
Thank you, Chancellor Modica. Thank you, Minister Deng. Thank you to Dr. Callum McPherson for all the great work that you do, Dr. Pensick, Dr. Rao, all the other leaders of St. George's University. You have really established this institution as an institution of academic excellence on the world stage. So thank you for all your vision and hard work. I would now like to recognize the Global Humanism Honor Society inductees. The Arnold P. Gold Foundation created the White Coat Ceremony in 1993 to promote humanism in medicine. St. George's University School of Medicine initiated its own White Coat Ceremony in 1996, long before many other U.S. medical schools. In 2003, the Gold Foundation founded the Gold Humanism Honor Society, which is an international society dedicated to the promotion of humanism, professionalism, and ethics in medical practice and education. SGU annually inducts new members into its chapter of Gold Humanism Honor Society. SGU's chapter of Gold Humanism Honor Society envisioned and established the Humanitarian Student Organization in 2009, through which preclinical students can engage in service activities for their communities with support from the Gold Foundation. The 2013 member names are listed at the back of your program. These inductees are presently doing fourth-year rotations, and we honor their embodiment of Gold Humanism Honor Society ideals and their efforts to provide humane, caring, and professional patient care. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Kiran Healy, our keynote speaker. Dr. Kiran Healy is a consultant plastic surgeon at Guy's and St. Thomas's Hospital, a member of the British Association of Plastic Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgeons, and a member of the British Society for Surgery of the Hand. During the 1980s, Dr. Healy engaged in extensive clinical training and research while serving as a pediatric surgical senior house officer at National Children's Hospital, Dublin, and plastic surgery senior house officer at St. Lawrence Hospital, Chepstow and Frenchy Hospital, Bristol. His clinical experience provided insight into the management of a range of conditions involving microneurovascular surgery, skin and breast cancer reconstruction, burns, congenital hand correction, hand trauma, and management of complex facial injuries. As a consultant, Dr. Healy has developed a specific interest in hand surgery, nasal reconstruction following skin cancer resection, and sentinel lymph node biopsy in melanoma. To date, he continues to provide tutorials to plastic and hand surgeons and lectures at both the undergraduate and postgraduate levels, including general surgical fellowship course candidates at Guy's and St. Thomas's Hospital. He represents a true academic triple threat in the sense that he is an excellent educator, an excellent clinician, and a very prolific researcher. And on a personal note, it has been really great to get to know Dr. Kiran Healy over the past day or so. And I'd like to share with you a personal story that he told me about his career. When he was doing 2 years of research after his medical training, he actually thought to call a biochemistry professor from medical school just to thank him for all his helpful support and mentoring during the course of his medical school days. And I think that's a wonderful message for all of you. Maintain an attitude of gratitude in your hearts. Thank your families, thank your friends, thank your brothers and sisters, thank everybody who has been instrumental in bringing you here today. Thank your instructors, thank your professors, thank your clinical faculty, thank your university leadership, and also thank the people of Grenada who are welcoming you with their hospitality and kindness. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the podium Dr. Healy.
Good evening, Chancellor Modica, deans, incoming students to the St. George's University School of Medicine, proud family members and friends. I'd like to thank the chair of the Department of Bioethics, Dr. Cheryl Cox McPherson, for bestowing the honour of inviting me to give the keynote speech at this important occasion. Why, she's asked me, I'm not sure. I think it's just because I've survived long enough as a teaching hospital consultant in reconstructive plastic surgery. In doing so, I followed the advice of my mentor when I was a young trainee in concentrating on what he called the 3 A's for the benefits of my patient. And these were availability, affability, and ability. So I've structured my presentation around the 3 A's. So the availability commences with your commitment to actually getting into medical school, your subsequent training, your clinical practice, and increasingly with administration, which will be foisted upon you, particularly with the new types of healthcare insurance. So the induction of medical students into the profession through a formal process such as this has come about since my days in medical school and has gained increasing recognition as beneficial to both medical students and their future patients. While our understanding of human disease and its management has improved dramatically through the application of scientific process, as medical practitioners, we must practice with the patient as a person in mind. Note already, I'm including you as medical practitioners in my address, novices though you are. The process of learning as a doctor continues through your career, and the rigid hierarchy structure of the profession is in place to manage us as a group. It's not to dictate when we have reached a point where we are replete with knowledge on which to base our clinical practice. You will be educated by a dedicated faculty here in Grenada for your basic medical sciences for 2 years. This will be followed by 2 years of clinical training in teaching hospitals in the US, United Kingdom, and Canada. This will then be followed by your choice of specialty postgraduate program. But throughout your career, your patients will be the people who teach you more than any other lecturer. Spending time with them will help you understand and remember their conditions and treatments more effectively than hours spent with dry textbooks. Occasionally you will meet a patient with an encyclopedic knowledge of the condition, as I did when I met one in an ophthalmic surgical outpatient clinic in my final medical year. He had a rare neuromuscular autoimmune disease called Myasthenia Gravis, and he described to me in detail its pathology, the signs and symptoms, investigations and treatment of this obscure disease. To my surprise, some months later, who turned up in my major medical exam in my final year but the same patient? Of course, I had to pretend to the examiners I'd never seen him before. So I gradually drew out all his symptoms, made observations about his physical signs, and eventually concluded that he actually must have myasthenia gravis. They were bowled over. They thought I was a genius. But in actual fact, I was just winging it. But the patient had taught me about his disease. Unfortunately, my honours didn't come my way because I had a disastrous clinical psychiatric case, and they let me be a doctor as long as I did not practice psychiatry. I congratulate the student body on your achievement in obtaining a coveted place in medical school and those who have helped you to achieve this. The time and effort in doing so will be added to throughout your medical school, postgraduate training, and continuing medical education. To this commitment, hence availability, will be added the time that you dedicate to your patients. And this may be at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 8 o'clock in the morning on the wards or in the operating theatre. but you have to be available when they need you. This accessibility is an onerous aspect of the vocation that you have entered and will likely persist throughout your career. It will have an impact on your domestic, romantic, and extracurricular life. Even when you are not in direct contact with your patients, they will occupy your thoughts, distracting you from the very activity which you seek to escape these intrusions. Strangely, when you're busy and then you become quiet, you'll think, why am I not on demand anymore? And you start getting anxious. Some people actually tell me that as doctors, they don't like family vacation time because it's not full of the busyness that they normally experience. One of my bosses actually scheduled himself to be on call for emergencies whenever his mother-in-law was visiting the family. So the next A in my list of 3As is affability. And affability in a doctor needs to be tempered to avoid encroaching on the doctor-patient relationship, particularly in matters of intimate behavior. The balance of influence is so far in the doctor's favor that it risks exploitation on their part. When interacting with your patient, you will be in a social space which may be of varying degrees of familiarity to you and the patient. The norms of social interaction may appear distorted, but the more you can create a relationship of trust and open communication with the patient, the better will you be able to understand their needs and provide for them. Respecting cultural norms and clinical priorities will dictate whether you should, in addition to greeting the patient with their associates, whilst introducing yourself and any team members present, also offer to shake their hand, for example. With my female Muslim patients, I ask first if this is appropriate. Many decline, but then cooperate fully with subsequent clinical examinations, which I always have a chaperone present for. In actual fact, I request chaperones, particularly for intimate examination of female patients of all cultural groups, to ensure both parties are comfortable, i.e. me and the patient. Identifying the patient's needs through a structured interview, clinical examination, and appropriate investigations is fundamental to clinical practice. Do not be misled by limitations in communication through age, intellectual, or language barriers, but always attempt to obtain information directly from the patient and those accompanying them. As a medical student, I identified a young boy who had aspirated a peanut and was been treated for persistent lung infection without the pediatric team's knowledge of the underlying cause. By sitting down and talking to the child, I was able to elicit what had initially occurred and then was able to bring it to the attention of the team. A few hours later, he was in the operating room having an endoscopic procedure to successfully remove his peanut and help cure his inhalation pneumonia. Affability is a useful habit to cultivate with your patients, as it tends to override the cynicism that can easily overcome you when you're in the midst of a heavy workload. During my junior residency in the busy emergency room, despite the urge to curtail a patient who sought my advice as she suspected that she was going mad, and you all know what a bad psychiatrist I am, I methodically went through her symptoms of a recurring pattern of illness that had defied diagnosis of her family doctor and multiple internists. She described a wave-like pattern of her symptoms. This brought to mind the term undulant, as in wave-like, moving up and down. Undulant fever, I thought, could it be this bacterial infection, otherwise known as brucellosis, which can be contracted from animals. Further questioning confirmed their father was a veterinarian surgeon, and she liked to go and assist him when he was helping calves that were having difficulty being born. And this, of course, is an ideal environment to catch brucellosis. My tentative diagnosis was confirmed with the appropriate laboratory tests, and the patient went on to be referred for treatment by our medical department. I was briefly famous in the hospital, but my next disaster put pay to that. This tendency for the diagnosis to be within the doctor's grasp, once a detailed history is obtained, is particularly relevant in my current practice of skin cancer, where many of my patients come to me with quite advanced melanoma diagnosis, having been reassured wrongly by many clinicians, doctors, and so forth in the past that the skin lesions that were concerning them were actually harmless when they transpired not to be. It's only by carrying out analysis of suspicious skin lesions that one can definitively define whether or not they're innocent or not. The majority of them do transpire to be innocent, and therefore it's necessary to warn the patient of this and that they will have a scar, but at least they will know what the true nature of their condition is. So the process of developing trusting relationships with your patients is not without moments of sadness. One of the cases I helped manage as an intern was a middle-aged man with advanced lung cancer. On questioning him, "Do you smoke?" Answer, "No." "Oh, unfortunately, you got lung cancer and you didn't smoke." "Did you ever smoke?" "Yes." "How many?" 40 a day until I was told I had lung cancer. So unfortunately, he decided to give up a little bit late. But I administered his chemotherapy regime to him, always taking time to talk to him of his thoughts and concerns whilst doing so. Moving on to my next role as the emergency room doctor in the same hospital, I was touched when he made regular visits to me to keep me appraised of his progress. When my son was born, I returned to work the following day to be told that the patient's condition had deteriorated in my absence and he wished to see me. Struggling to talk to me despite his advanced cancer, he wished me the best as a new father and presented me with a beautiful blanket from my newborn son as a gift. Appropriate, Dev? So while such experiences can be emotionally painful, it shouldn't deter us from forming appropriate relationships of endearment with our patients, as it is to their benefit when they feel that they are important to you as doctors. Affability with the full spectrum of your work colleagues is essential, and this is actually one of the things mentioned in the oath that you're going to take later on. And placing the patient at the center of the decision-making process leads to the development of super specialist, multidisciplinary team management for many conditions, particularly cancer. For whatever disease process we are managing, the input of medical practitioners with complementary specialist skills, nursing staff with defined support roles for clinical care and pathway management, therapists with specific clinical skills, and administrative support staff are all brought together in such teams. As a doctor, it is important that you understand and fulfill your role in this process without losing sight of your patient's essential humanity and your responsibility to them. You should also participate in defining and updating the management protocols guiding the team and ensuring your patient progresses smoothly through their treatment pathway. It's also important that you question dogma, particularly of protocols, always insisting on a continuous improvement in the process of management of your patient. As a resident, I challenge the assumption that all melanoma patients required reconstruction following surgical excision should have a split skin graft, which can be very ugly in its appearance. By combining traditional plastic surgical flap design with modern concepts of blood supply of the skin that were becoming popular at that time, I developed an improvement in the reconstruction of melanoma defects, avoiding disfiguring skin grafts. Whilst this approach was challenged by long-established surgeons, it was subsequently published in a peer-reviewed journal, and skin flap reconstruction for melanoma is now widely practiced. Ability as a doctor involves accurate diagnosis of the patient's condition, formulation of an appropriate treatment plan, and efficient delivery. Success as a doctor depends on your mastery of the scientific knowledge upon which clinical practice is based, and on your application of this in a practical way to the optimal benefit of your patient. The knowledge and skills you acquire throughout your career progression may come together in ways which are not predictable to you from the outset. When thrown into the role of the lead clinician in the emergency room early in my career as an attending following a terrorist bombing, I used my training in advanced trauma and life support to guide my assessment and management of over 30 severely injured patients. Using triage to select them in terms of priority, I directed their care by other clinicians as they arrived to lend assistance in what was a chaotic situation. Despite the predicted mortality of 5 of our 30-odd patients, all survived, partly as a result of some tough decisions made, including the amputation of 5 limbs that night. Similarly, my current super specialist role in reconstruction of the nose following cancer excision is greatly enhanced by my training and experience in cosmetic surgery. Many of these cases require a series of operations to achieve an optimal result, and this requires time on my part with the patient to explain the need for such protracted treatment and to gain their trust prior to them making such a long-term commitment. The restoration of appearance and function for these patients is a team effort which includes them at the center. Scientific research has yielded enormous advances in the treatment of diseases and promises to deliver much more throughout your careers. My research has always involved clinical subjects, and it is extremely important to have a relationship with them that is based on mutual trust and support. interrupting my residency to undertake laboratory-based research on the recovery of function following injury to skin nerves, led to the award of a doctoral thesis. While I was collecting data from my clinical subjects, my research supervisor questioned my submission of restaurant bills I paid when taking my research subjects to lunch at a nearby modest Italian restaurant. She relented when I explained that the day-long experiments required a lunch break where I accompanied the clinical subjects, being worried that they may not return for the afternoon component of the study, which involved application of painful stimuli to assess recovery of pain perception. It is important to retain curiosity throughout your career, trying, where possible, to advance the understanding of care of your patient's problems. While participating in the surgical care of a victim of the mass bombings in London in 2005, I was made aware of the need to conserve our dwindling stock of blood for transfusion. I used fibrin glue, obtained from human blood, to seal the patient's split skin graft donor sites, as studies had shown that it reduced the requirement for blood transfusion. The following day, when we asked the patient how the normally painful skin graft donor site felt, we were surprised when she told us that she was not even aware that she had a donor site, let alone a painful one. Curious as to whether this was an anomaly, my team carried out a pilot study of split skin graft donor site pain prevention through fibrin glue application. The result encouraged us to proceed to a randomized control trial, which confirmed that sealing a split skin graft donor site with fibrin glue significantly reduces pain. We also found that it reduced hospital stay, which the administrators were delighted with because it saved money. And we also found that it appeared to improve the rate of wound healing. And this has been published in a peer-reviewed journal. I'd like to conclude with some crystal ball gazing. Recent changes in medical insurance coverage in the United States will most likely, we've been fighting about this amongst ourselves, whether it will or it won't, nobody knows what's going to happen, but probably will result in a massive increase in demand for physicians throughout the US to cater for the needs of the additional 40 million population that will enter the healthcare market. Your generation are therefore at the threshold of probably the most dramatic expansion and transition of healthcare ever. And I've no doubt that this medical school, St. George's, will prepare you well for this challenge which you will rise to. In doing so, be aware of those who do not have similar opportunities to yours. Over 30 years ago, while on my medical student elective overseas, I met St. George's University Vice Provost and Professor of Parasitology, Dr. Cal McPherson, when he was collecting specimens of infected human tissue for his research into neglected tropical diseases. We traveled together with the flying doctors to the inaccessible Turkana district of northern Kenya, where I assisted the surgeons in removing hydatid cysts from infected pastoralists. Dr. McPherson used these specimens to carry out the first laboratory cultivation of the responsible Echinococcus parasite and its strain identification. He continues his important research into neglected tropical diseases as director of WINDREF, the internationally renowned Windward Islands Research and Education Foundation, here at St. George's University's beautiful True Blue campus. Immediately north of Turkana lies the newly established country of South Sudan, from where a group of 13 prospective medical students have come here tonight to meet you, as they are now in Grenada to study to become doctors, with the support of their government, St. George's University and WINDREF. These students have been selected on their academic achievement under extreme adversity and their commitment to return home on graduation to help build the much-needed medical services. They have the opportunity to be trained at this internationally diverse medical school, housed in a beautiful, modern, purpose-built campus with a committed, well-informed faculty and administration. No doubt they will receive encouragement in achieving their goals and humanitarian support from you, their fellow medical students at St. George's University, which are renowned for friendly hospitality and cultural awareness. It is hoped that when they have completed their medical school training and graduated and returned to South Sudan, they will be able to establish effective medical services for their people. No doubt some of you will assist them when you have established your careers by spending time with them in a voluntary capacity, helping to continue their education and development as doctors. I would like to conclude my speech by emphasizing the humanitarian core of medical practice, which will reward you as well as your patients. Thank you for listening, and best wishes to all.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Dr. Healy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you truly internalize Dr. Healy's message, you'll be well on your way to getting the residency of your choice. To welcome each of you to the medical profession, St. George's University School of Medicine will now present you with a white coat symbolizing your entry to the profession and your commitment to uphold the duties and trust associated with medicine and medical training. To assist our keynote speaker and myself with robing, I now invite several clinical faculty and alumni mentors to the stage. Dr. Anita Bhatt, Dr. Vijaya Chalapilla, Dr. Linwald Fleary, Dr. Michael Herion, Dr. Oren Liddell, Dr. Marios Lucas, Dr. Doland Noel, Dr. Timur Yurikov, Dr. James Van Natta, Dr. Elena Wade, Dr. Catherine Yearwood, Dr. Monwir Arop, Dr. Mayan Achiek. In recognition of our international enrollment, the Grand Marshal, Dr. David Brown, Professor and Co-Chair, and Professor of Behavioral Sciences, will call each student by name and state their country of birth. Please hold your applause until all students have been robed. For safety, we ask the audience to kindly remain seated and not to interrupt the ceremony by taking pictures in the forward section of the hall. Thank you for your cooperation.
Anton Oskoshko, San Francisco. Jacqueline Pribula, North Dakota. Thomas Yoon, New Jersey. Nicholas Tautiva, Florida. Ryan Rod, Michigan. Joseph Zachary, Kansas. Satvika Ponavolu, Florida. Gina Patel, Texas. Dvit Patel, South Carolina. Deepa Saha, Indiana. Sarah Upson, Arizona. Danielle Straker, Grenada. Your card? Crestaniel Thompson, Trinidad and Tobago. Sarah Weber, Massachusetts. Arutyan Pogosian, California. Shont Tomasian. Anthony Sengel, California. Andrea Silva, California. Huang Nguyen, North Carolina. Ellie Tuma, Los Angeles. Kevin Singh, New York. Jacob Suazo, Washington. Andrew San Antonio, California. Chinedu Nwachukwu, Nigeria. Ajay Munaganti, Maryland. Suan Williams, Florida. Sanjeev Svoboda, Florida, rather. Yeah, close. Anish Tadani, Ontario. Ankit Takyar, Arizona. Anita Saini, Texas. Sarah Qureshi, Minnesota. Alex Mahara, New Jersey. Syed Rahman, California. Vasily Rosenbaum, California. Maria Saba, Russia. Alexander Prestley, Connecticut. Don Nguyen, Texas. Teresa Vu, California. Tommy Martin, Missouri. Arslan Navid, New York. Hector Romo, Texas. Michael Merola, New York. Ahmed Shubaki, Illinois. Karan Rai, Nebraska. Sahir Qureshi, Florida. Jai Shim, New Jersey. Esther Shin, North Carolina. Jessica Mounsef, Illinois. Zachary Paras, Texas. Tiffany Wong, California. Himani Patel, New Jersey. Jacob Mandel, New York. Cameron Zadeh, California. Davud Tarzi, Iran. Chijoki Onyewilku, Nigeria. Jamil Singh, New York. Debbie Saha, Florida. Darisha White, Trinidad and Tobago. Helen Prince, Florida. Chatura Nagaradona, Maryland. Casey Wiley, Long Island, New York. Kyle Witt, Arizona. Dayar Omer, New York. Anderson Shem, Texas. Preston Sereg, Iowa. Vanessa Valdez, Florida. Yuki Murakami, California. Siddhartha Narayanan, Boston. Nicholas Drewer, Boston. Nibin Pachikara, New York. Anton Shea, Idaho. Oh. Marcello Scotti, New York. Gregory Rossi, Kentucky. Jeffrey Pan, California. Gurkam Randawa, California. Olatunji Otabaya, Florida. Brent Scott, Trinidad and Tobago. Gaijin Panchalingam, Texas. Gaurav Mandel, New York. Paul Rajan, Texas. Jasmine Sandhu, Washington. Amara Sarwal, British Columbia. Lilian Sentosa, Indonesia. Bangu Shabane, Botswana. Maria Philip Bosco, United Kingdom. Kimberly Van Orden, California. Leslie Wynn, Florida. Valeria Ripa, Russia. Colleen Murphy, North Carolina. Jamie Mahfood, Jamaica. Lauren Lesser, Texas. Sana Shakil, New York. Natasha Muzamdar, Pennsylvania. Sandy Ma, New York. Mark Rice, Utah. Oh. Catherine Spavento, New York, whose coat will be placed on her by her father, Perry Spavento, an alum, class of '82, St. George's. Catherine Rice, Chicago, who will be coated by her father, Malcolm Rice, MD, St. George's class of 1982. Jessica Misich, Michigan. Gabrielle Stahl, Chicago. Asha Tippanelli, Rhode Island. Jeffrey Silverstein, Quebec. Anita Maslum, California. Jaya Wadawan, Nova Scotia. Frederick Ta, Massachusetts. Abdullah Omotayo, Nigeria. Jessica Sirio, Massachusetts. Audrellin Oriah, New Jersey. Kava Robinson, New York. Kelly Scheller, Indiana. Johanna Ruiz, United States. Ahmed Naim, New York. Elizabeth Zorovich, New York. Sandra Mikhail, Cairo, Egypt. Andrew Milanese, New Jersey. Stephanie Russell, New York. Maria Srinivasan, Pennsylvania. Adenia Narasingh, Trinidad and Tobago. Sharon Warner, Florida. South Africa. She has moved, I think. Miri Makabish, Paraguay or New York, different times. Andre Rafizadeh, New Jersey. Issa Riaz, New Jersey. Dara Shields, Florida. Juan Rondon, Florida. Jal Patel, Virginia. Shreyas Srinivas, California. Chase Knack, Florida. Alejandro Oluyu, Florida. Mark Perutek, California. Lakshmi Somasundaram, Pennsylvania. Jincy Matthew, New York. John Vikveg, Grenada. Masood Safa, Iran. Guan Song, California. Svetlana Stancheva, Ohio. Jash Vakil, New Jersey. Safan Zar, Connecticut. Shashank Muskew, New Jersey. Tyler Murphy, South Carolina. Sanket Megpara, California. Nihal Mehta, Washington. Akwe Nyabera, Kenya. Astrid Ross, Trinidad and Tobago. Junice Sampson, U.S. Emmanuel Sanchez, New Jersey. Yes. Mwengwe Injoyu, Zambia. Jason Reynolds, Florida. Gerardo Medeiros, Texas. Justin Renard, Pennsylvania. Emmanuel Onyerim, District of Columbia, New York, Washington. Forget the New York, District of Columbia. Jason Seymour, Florida. Julie Truong, California. Matab Moshtag Sisan, California. Deepesh Patel, Ontario. Uruj Sahid, California. Lindsay Nichols, Washington. Stephanie West, Colorado. David Waldberg, Georgia. I'm from Utah. Santiago Vasquez, New York. Harjaz Singh, Virginia. Caroline Miller, Massachusetts. Enderpreet Saran, California. Duke Quach, California. Komal Patel, Illinois. Priya Prakash, Texas. Jennifer Mingrino, Connecticut. Aida Sarkon, California. Allison Stein, Florida. Shakila Williams, Trinidad and Tobago. Chen Song, China. Diem Nguyen, New Mexico. Sorry. Ruxing Jing, Quebec. Kamolika Roy, Massachusetts. Albert Yang, California. Noamika Nweke, close. Nigeria, yes, thank you. Lauren Stoll, California. Amarsin Mikhail, Iraq. Jacob Samba, Cameroon. Quan Nguyen, Vietnam. Valerie Truong, California. William Nguyen, California. Niral Patel, New Jersey. Right. Jonathan Tsai, California. Orain Slate, Jamaica. Opiemi Awa, Nigeria. Michael Morris, Texas. Milan Podreka, New York. Patrick Newman, Missouri. Ryan Persaud, New York. Alexandra Madigan, Wisconsin. Rebecca Rubenstein, New York. Armin Sarkisian, California. Anna Terchunian, California. Hanover Mazo, Colombia. Colombia, that is. South America. Igor Mashchenko, New Jersey. Mervyn Thomas, Grenada. Ryan Rossos, Ohio. Stephanie Manjur, California. Sunny Sandhu, California. Jeffrey Roser, Maryland. Ashley Miley, Ohio. Michael Thompson, Florida. Aaron Park, Texas. Pavan Yalamanchili, New Jersey. Sunil Varma, Wisconsin. Ertiza Mansour, Pakistan. Bilal Talha, Pakistan. Shayna Varghese, India. Odirachukwuma Obiaju. I think I got Nigeria, yes. Ezana Wajkira, Virginia. Vikram Puni, New York. Kunal Patel, California. Timur Nuriman, New Jersey. Matthew Norris, New Jersey. Niall Welch, Guyana and New York. Joshua Smith, South Africa. Eos Mukhtar, Pennsylvania. Megha Patel, Michigan. Okay. Tamina Yakubi, Afghanistan. Keishia Suhail, California, San Francisco. Christopher Miland, California. Caleb Wutamunashi, Zimbabwe. Anesu Mkushi, Zimbabwe. Yasmin Reyes, New York. Oluwakemi Phillips, Florida. Wilson Alfredo Medina, New Jersey. Muhammad Malik, New York. Carlos Eduardo Romano, New York. James Velasquez, Arizona. Rachel Subramanian, California, Hercules, California. Carlos Nunez, Florida. Justin Sichula, Zambia. Anish Nanda, California. Alexandra Manning, Manitoba. Neil Navarez, California. Ben Nguyen, California. Sukmani Sandhu, Ohio. Jessica Nichols, Mississippi. Andra Zisulescu, Romania. Alicia Suarez Solar, Florida. Viveki Umadat, Manitoba. Alistair Meshkin, California. Catelyn Maba, Manitoba. Kimberly Sanders, Tennessee. Daniela Tello, Florida. Davita Maburak, California. Florida. Oh, I did that again. Florida. Joseph Petro, New York. Jeffrey Pierman, North Carolina. Ah, that's it.
I will now invite all the robers to take their seats. Thank you. At this time, I invite the students and all doctors present to stand and recite aloud with me the professional commitment listed near the back of your program. Today is the beginning of my medical education and training as a physician. I acknowledge my responsibility to continue the pursuit of knowledge and understanding until that day when I will cease to be a practicing physician. I am entering training for a noble profession in which my interest must always be subservient to those who may seek my assistance. I must be ever conscious of the value of my fellow health professionals and treat them with respect at all times. My classmates at St. George's University are now my colleagues, and I owe to them the same support and encouragement to achieve their goals as I hope to receive from them. I will work alongside my colleagues and professors with tolerance, compassion, and honesty. I acknowledge my obligation to adhere to the University Honor Code and to conduct myself with integrity in an ethical manner at all times henceforth. I shall do all within my power to show in myself an example of all that is honorable and good throughout my medical career. It is a privilege to have been given the opportunity to become a physician. May I be ever conscious of that privilege and never abuse it. Please be seated. Last term, the School of Medicine introduced its Alumni Mentor Scholarship Program. Scholarship recipients are nominated by graduates of the School of Medicine based on their academic excellence and commitment to the medical profession. I now wish to recognize the mentors and ask that they and their students stand as I call their names. Dr. Nita Bhatt, Ryan Rosos. Dr. Timur Yurikov, Valerie Ripp. We thank the mentors for their support and congratulate the students. On behalf of St. George's University, I would like to thank the Arnold Gold Foundation for the Humanism in Medicine pins placed on each student's white coat. Thank you, students, families, faculty, staff, and administrators for your support and presence at this ceremony. It has been an honor to be your Master of Ceremonies this evening and return to St. George's. It's been a wonderful homecoming indeed. I ask that you please remain seated and keep the aisles clear until the ushers direct you to the exit. Thank you again for coming.